can upload that into Facebook and create what are called lookalike audiences. So say you got 200 clients, you upload them to Facebook. Facebook looks at them all and sees similarities in them, and then they create an audience that are similar to the people that you uploaded, your existing customers. So they should be highly valuable or good adworthiness, if you will, and they will start showing ads to that lookalike audience. So that'd be another great place to start.
And welcome back to the Money, the Mindset, and the Mentoring podcast. Today we've got Chris here from Kickstart Dental Marketing, and they are an award-winning marketing service in the dental industry. And I want to talk to you today about marketing strategies. And it's interesting when you think of dentists, the first word you don't think of is marketing. You think of root canal. And so thank goodness we're not talking about that. We're talking about something fun, which is Facebook advertising and some other unique things that you do. So thank you very much for joining the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about what got you into the idea that dentists need to market. Most people have teeth and we know that they need to be looked after. Yeah. Why do dentists need to market?
Yeah, well, the problem is, let me start back. Back in the day, you're right. It was if I build it, people will come type of business. But now it's different. Now you can build it and nobody will come. And that's because there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of dentists out there, even in small, even rural areas. There's tons of competition. And now these days we have what we call corporate competition as well. Whereas like what we call in the industry DSOs are buying up individual locally owned practices and kind of putting them under their umbrella, if you will. So
what does DSO stand for?
Dental service organizations.
Okay.
And essentially, they can come in and buy a practice completely out, or maybe a percentage of it. The doctor still works there, things like that. And so that didn't exist back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, at this level anyway. So there's more pressure now on local dentists than ever before. And that's really what's driven this market to be able to have to market and advertise. Now, one other thing that's happened as well that we've noticed in the industry is that general dentists are starting to do more specialty work. So it used to be where if you go to a general dentist and you have for instance, a root canal, most of the times that would get, shopped out to somebody else, or, braces even would go to an orthodontist, right? Well, now there's more general dentists trying to do all of that stuff in-house. And so it's causing some of the specialties to need to market more directly to people as well.
Oh, so the specialties, now didn't the specialties typically rely on the referrals from the dentist? So what you're saying is that referral business is drying up. So that referral dentist is saying, look, I don't know where my clients are going to come from. So I got to start reaching into that pool that's ahead of the dentist or they're going to eat my lunch.
Yep, that's exactly right. I mean, we have dentists now even doing Botox. So it's,
like not gum Botox, hopefully not.
No, nothing like that. But they're really trying to find more revenue streams, more profit centers, if you will. And some of them are really trying to get into this whole like spa type dental experience where you go for your teeth whitening, Botox, things like that. So, yeah.
Interesting. Well, I mean, there's something to be said about finding greater ways to create wallet share to increase your total lifetime value of a client by increasing wallet share, by adding other services, because the cost of acquisition is not what it used to be. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about ads in a minute. And I'm sure that when they look at dentistry, that's probably a pretty trumped up value to acquire a client online. Yeah. And so to do that and make that marketing cost effective, they have to find other ways to add value.
Right. Yeah, without question. I mean, there's 2 or 3 ways to grow a business, through it's what I call revenue ceiling, right? Whereas, you bring on so many new customers and you lose so many customers every month, depending on what kind of business you're in. There's a point to where if you don't outsell your churn, you're never going to break through that ceiling, right? We've had that happen a couple of times here. And the only ways to break through it are to, raise your prices, right? Mm-hmm. Raise your prices to existing clients. If you have monthly recurring type revenue streams, those kind of go hand in hand. Sell more, right? So you increase your sales staff, get more leads in the door, get more closes. That's an obvious one. And then, of course, reduce churn. How can you keep more clients, right? Or how do you get more clients coming back to you if it's that model? And so, any business has to go through that process. Once they hit a certain revenue threshold, that's how you break through and get to the next. And, dentistry or any other industry really is no different.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, the idea of increasing pricing, by increasing wallet share, you're creating adjacent revenue stream with the same cost of acquisition.
Right.
And that in turn is increasing the revenue. And I think
Right.
that's an interesting way at looking at it for sure for dentistry. I've never thought about dentistry spas or dentistry salons.
Yeah.
That would be a unique experience that people are like, honey, I'm just going to go hang out at the dentist.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Right. Get a massage.
That'll certainly do something for the mental health of dentists. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Interesting. Now, one thing that you've become really astute at is Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And really helping people understand that is a mystery for most people. I mean, when you go into Facebook Meta, I mean, that's a universe unto itself. And it's a constantly changing space where I remember once the pixel, you're trying to find the pixel and it's located, it says pixel, but it's not there. You got to go to the tab below. Yeah. That's where the pixel is. And you're like, why is it under the pixel tab?
It's horrible. Meta's horrible. But they're doing me a favor too, because they're making it so screwed up that a normal dentist has no time to figure this out, or any business owner for that matter. It's so complex, and it's overwhelming even for us sometimes. And we do this every day. So they're kind of doing me a favor because, dentists are like, I'm not trying this, you do it for me. Right. But yeah, it's a mess. They have all kinds of issues going on with like people hacking into credit cards on file. They'll shut down an ad account pretty much on a whim and not tell you why. And you've lost all your clients' data. I mean, it's just, it's an ongoing thing. We've got a team that does Facebook ads for us, and I don't know how they do it. I mean, talk about mental health. I have to check on them all the time because Meta is it's just a mess, honestly, but it can be very effective for small businesses.
Well, with complexity, it's just like the legal system. The more complexity, the more requirement for a lawyer. The more complexity in the taxation laws, the more requirement for an accountant.
Yep.
So these complexities that the social media spaces are creating and what it takes to be able to just manage an ad and not get shut down, that certainly provides an opportunity. But if somebody wanted to do it, and say somebody's like, I want to jump in and I'm willing to, I've already lost my hair and I'm ready to go. I want to jump into the Facebook ad space. What are some things that we can leave them with that would really help them navigate that space to create success?
Yeah. Most people that have tried Facebook ads on their own are like, this doesn't work. I spent a bunch of money and I didn't get anything out of it. Right. And there's a reason for that. Number one, it's complex and you've got to know what you're doing. And if you click the wrong button, it could completely sidetrack your campaign. That's just the way it is. There's also ad writing, content writing. If you don't know how to write ads effectively, you're not going to be successful, especially with Facebook. With Google ads, it's kind of like writing an old classified ad. You only get like so many words and that's it, right? But with Facebook ads, you can write as much content as you want. You can use pictures, you can use videos, you can do all kinds of stuff. You have all kinds of options, right? And both Google and Facebook will give you their opinion on what they think you should do. Most of the time, that opinion is, yeah, we'll spend your money, but we don't know if you're going to get results or not. So I would not take their advice as you're going through it, trying to do it yourself, because usually that's misguided advice. So a couple of specific things that we've done to really get great success, and obviously we don't have time to go through the whole platform and show you every button that you need to click and this, that, or the other.
Because it's constantly changing, right?
It is, yeah. It could totally change tomorrow. So yeah, that's a great point, And so we, number one, takeaway from Facebook ads is, if you're going to try to tackle this yourself, never use their network audience. So there'll be an option that'll say, do you want us to send this out to even more websites other than Facebook, our partner sites, if you will? And this goes for Google ads too. Do not click that button because it's just junk. It's mostly just trashy websites that they're just making money off of, basically. It's not good, valuable traffic. Okay. Secondly, know what Facebook is, right? We see so many dental practices, and this goes for any business owner really, that what they do is they get on Facebook, they create their ad, and it's $99 cleaning. Come in, click here to get started, right? You can't do that on Facebook. And here's why. Facebook, you are not targeting a specific person like on Google that's typing in a keyword saying how much are dental implants, how much are cleanings. Those people are ready to buy because they've got their credit card in hand. They're ready to go because you know that the intent is there. Facebook, you don't have that. You target by demographics. So it's more like age, how much money do you make, where do you live, how many kids do you have, how long have you been in your job, things like that. And when you get into that kind of an arena, you don't know that they're looking for a dentist or not, right? And I tell clients this all the time. It's like almost like when you start a relationship with somebody. On your first date, you don't ask them to marry you most of the time anyway, right?
No.
And that's exactly what's happening when you do that on Facebook. You have to build a relationship with these people first and tell your story. Build the relationship and then gradually get to that conversion point. So when we start ads for clients, we typically start out with a picture of the dentist or their family or their pets or something, and just introducing them. Like, hi, I'm Chris. I'm a new dentist here and wherever, blah, blah, blah. Love you to stop by sometime to say hi. And we start the campaign that way so that we're not just trying to sell somebody before we've established who we are. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that we've seen. So don't use the network audience, and start personal first and then gradually grow to, all right, yeah, come on in for our new patient special or whatever it may be.
Interesting. Okay. So, and that I think goes to the idea that when you're on something like Google AdWords, you're actively searching for, I'm looking for a dentist.
Right.
And so that's very search word heavy. Of dentist near me, for example, might be a really strong search, powerful word. Whereas on Facebook, somebody's just scrolling and trolling and the ad comes up. So it's more the pattern interrupt is what you're looking for, is to kind of hit that moment that person's like, oh, this looks like a nice person. And, and kind of think of that. And then, oh, they're actually near me. Oh, they've got a special. Okay. So then there's something there.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's two different platforms. Google, you don't have to get real creative. They're ready to buy, they're ready to go. And that's why their ads are more expensive, quite frankly. I mean, if somebody's spending $2,000 a month in Google ads, they can probably only spend $500 a month in Facebook and still get decent results. But you'll get more conversions on Google if you know what you're doing. So in a perfect world, we like to run both because it's two totally different types of campaigns. One is very high intent. The other is much more branding in the beginning.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what would be a third thing that they need to consider on that?
With Facebook ads?
Yeah.
Oh man, there's so many. Start small with your budget and just kind of work it out. And also the other thing with Facebook ads, which is nice, is you can upload if you have a client list, you can upload that name, email address, phone number, that kind of stuff. You can upload that into Facebook and create what are called lookalike audiences. So say you got 200 clients, you upload them to Facebook. Facebook looks at them all and sees similarities in them, and then they create an audience that are similar to the people that you uploaded, your existing customers. So they should be highly valuable or good adworthiness, if you will, and they will start showing ads to that lookalike audience. So that'd be another great place to start.
That makes sense. Now, when you look at a lookalike audience for a dentist, how do you find what that lookalike audience would look like? That's an interesting one to create.
Well, you just use your current patient base, because those are the patients that have already done business with you, right? So they might have similar traits to others that would be most likely to come to you as a dentist as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess Google's doing all the algorithm behind the scenes to see what's
similar. This is Facebook. You can't do that on Google.
Oh, sorry, Facebook is what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. And that goes to the remarketing as well? Is that what that
you can do that too. That's another aspect of Facebook. And you can do retargeting or remarketing on Google as well. And that's where if you put a cookie on your website, basically, somebody goes to visit your site, it puts that cookie onto their browser. And then when they leave and go to Facebook, they'll start serving ads to the person that's been on your website. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing things for sure. Awesome. And then for somebody obviously to struggle through versus having somebody else do it, I think, one of the things I always believe is that if you're at the edge of a jungle and you're trying to get to Rio, you can either, look on the ground and pick up a stick and start walking through the jungle. And, you're going to get malaria or something by the time you get there, probably lose an arm or something, get bitten off by like some piranhas, but you made it. You did it on your own.
Right.
Good for you.
Right.
Or what you can do is you can get into look over, grab the keys to that car, get on the road and drive following your GPS and you get there in about 15 minutes, with a little bit of traffic and you're fine.
Yeah.
And so, that's really when somebody like a dentist would say, I can do it myself. I'm going to get all the bruises and get all the battered, like you talk about, the mental health of your Facebook marketing team. And they can do that, or they can just go to the expert who does it themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the problem in business is that you can spend a lot of money and not get a thing out of it, like I said earlier. And the other thing is time. I think a lot of business owners don't really understand how much their time is worth. Yeah, you can figure it out. It'll take you, several weeks, and then they'll change, and you got to figure it out again. How many more new sales could you have made if you had taken that time to focus on sales versus on figuring out Facebook ads, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's actually interesting. I use dentist offices as a model, the perfect business model for anybody to learn how to grow and scale. And the reason why I say this is because you say, hey, honey, I went to the dentist today. Oh, how was it? It was great. The dentist is awesome. Now think about that for a second. Was the dentist awesome? How long did you spend with the dentist? When you walked into the dentist's office, did the dentist greet you at the front door? Mm-hmm. No, that was the person at the front desk who went through, did all the administration, brought you into the system, said, grab a seat. And then you go in, and did the dentist do all the cleaning? No, it was the dental hygienist who did all the cleaning. So they go in and they always ask you a million questions. You're like, okay, and but you're good. They're nice, and you have a good time. And then they leave, and then maybe they do the X-ray. Person comes in and gets that done, and the dentist comes in for about 15 minutes, or even 5 minutes. I mean, depending on the dentist, and they stick their fingers in your mouth, prod around, and say, "Yeah, everything looks good," and then they're out. And then you go out, and if you have insurance, you settle that out, or you pay it, and you're gone. How much time did you spend with a dentist? But you evaluated the whole experience based on the team.
Right.
And so I always look at the dental office as the perfect model for any business looking to grow and scale.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so interesting for the business that you're in. You're like, we're actually behind the scenes of those people helping them scale. So you're actually part of that ecosystem of the perfect business model.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about, which is just a really heavy pivot. And we were talking the other day, and this is about something. This was it's a personal fascination of mine. And when you brought this up, and I want to talk about this because you brought this up the other day, and I thought it was the coolest thing because I've been looking for these things for years. I was there's this builder, I think his name is Lasani Homes, that's in nearby where I am, and they used to send out these little cards that you'd open them up, and as it opens up, this crazy video shows up, and you're like, whoa, this is amazing. And you felt baller receiving it because you're like, this is the coolest thing that possibly could ever happen. And then we were talking the other day as in the preamble, you're like, dude, check this thing out.
Yeah.
I just, and you said, yeah, why don't we just talk about them for a little bit? So I wanted to kind of bring it up and just kind of show people this thing because it's the coolest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We use these for our own company at Kickstart. And then we have some clients that use them as well. I've got one here. This is the one for our company. So I can get this right on the camera. So it's basically, it's just a double-sided, it's basically just like a little mini iPad encased in this. And when somebody opens it, I don't know if this one's loaded or not. Maybe, yeah.
Look at that dashing fellow.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a video from me, personalized to the doctor or whoever I'm talking to at the time. And it just talks about, thanks for letting us give you a proposal. Here's something free for you. We give them away our front desk training for free. And so we send these out after we've done a proposal for a dental practice. And it seems like it went well and they're seriously going to evaluate us. And so we put it in a priority USPS envelope, send it out, usually there in the next day or two. And it just shows, because we talk a lot about our company, our agency being boutique and personalized, and we customize things. And that's a really good way to show people how personalized and custom we are versus 90% of the other agencies out there who's just like, they use the same exact campaign and same exact strategy for every dentist they bring on. Well, we're different that way. And I think that piece really helps show that. And like dental practices use this. Like if a new patient comes in, I mean, you're thinking, well, that's probably expensive to do. And I've probably, by the time I ship this thing and send it, I've got probably $25 in it. So it is a little bit more expensive. You don't want to just send it out to the masses. But when you think about like a dentist or any other business that's high ticket, if it closes more deals for you and the lifetime value is there, $25 is nothing.
Absolutely.
So we have dentists that'll send it out to new patients sometimes, say, hey, thanks for coming in. Hope to see you here in the next few months. Right. And that sticks with people. They remember that. And it's a great tool.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. And I think the idea of it just sort of demonstrates thinking outside of the box, and in the way that it's just it has such a positive feel when you receive one of those. I know when I did, I was like, man, this is super, because it was to me as a real estate agent from the builder to say, hey, here's a little bit about our product and that sort of thing. And it really showed a dedication to quality.
Yeah.
And just in the way that they did their marketing strategy. And certainly that the product that they put out is quality. So it's backed up by great, offerings. But the idea of that, just that starting point, that inception point, I think it's a true testament to great thinking about providing an experience for your client.
Yeah, and without question. And, we've had the comments of, well, we've never even thought of something like this. And for you to, market yourself this way, it lets us know that you could market us that way too. You could teach us how to do things like this and think outside of the box. Because, like any small business, typically a small business goes into business because they're good at something. Maybe it's, fixing cars or whatever it may be. They're not necessarily good at running a business, right? And so the marketing side of it, you have to be creative. It's a different thought. And so it makes your clients kind of think like, yeah, you know what, I do need some help with this. I would have never thought of this.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's amazing. It's one of those things, again, where you're differentiating.
Yeah.
And I think, especially as a marketing person, you really kind of get judged by the marketing that you do.
Yeah.
And if your marketing's not great, they're going to look and say at you and say, well, how are you going to make my marketing great?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's something that they really are going to think about when they're looking at the things that you're doing.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Now, the other thing is when you do some of these programs and you're looking at whether it's Facebook or where you're looking at doing, say, that marketing video card, I think something that you said that I thought was really great, because I'm a math guy. And so was know the numbers. Like when you start getting into your business and you start getting into marketing, know the numbers. Talk to me about what are the numbers? What are the numbers that people should be looking at when they're thinking about their marketing?
Yeah, before you get to a point of using stuff like this, you've got to know your numbers. And big numbers that I always talk to my clients about, and if they don't know the numbers, I help them figure that out, is what's your profit margin? Meaning after you pay rent and employees and all that stuff, what percent do you get to make, or what does the company make, right? You've got to know that number, and it's got to be pretty accurate, right? So that's the bottom line number, because that's everything. Nothing else really matters in a lot of businesses except for that profit number, right? And you've also got to know how much on average is it costing you to acquire a new client, right? You got to know that, because that's something, what gets measured gets done type of thing. All these numbers are around that. Now, to get to those numbers, you got to know a lot of other numbers, right? You got to know, like, on average, how much does each client spend with you? On average, what percentage of the time do they come back to you? So those are just some major numbers that you need to know. But if you don't know those and you start spending money in marketing and all this other stuff, how much is it cutting into your profit margin? Well, if you don't know your profit margin, you have no idea. And all of a sudden, after doing this a few months, you don't have much money in the bank. And you're like, what happened? And it's because you didn't know your numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people I was in a podcast interview the other day where the fellow had said this, and I think somewhat on point, where people a lot of the times focus on revenue.
Yeah.
And he said revenue is vanity.
Yeah.
And that I can to a point, I can agree with that. A lot of times we see real estate agents, they talk about, I sold, $100 million of real estate. Like, okay, well, what commission did you make? And
Right.
after all of the expenses, actually, what did you make? And they're like,
Right.
oh, like 50,000. Like, well, why are
Yeah.
you talking about 100 million?
Exactly.
Because you sold 100 million because you didn't actually sell it. You gave it away.
Yep.
And so because there was no profit in what you were doing.
Right.
And, so I think revenue certainly does have a vanity level to it. Even when we look at people who they talk about their employment, if somebody's a W-2 employee or a T4 employee in Canada who's just making a salary, they're like, I make $150,000 or $200,000 a year. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't. Because we got to take away what the tax man takes.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what you make. So in Canada, if you're making 200,000, that means you're actually only making 100,000.
Yeah.
And because we pay so much tax up in Canada, probably even less, going forward. But the idea is that knowing your numbers as to where your money's going is really going to be effective at knowing where you need to be so you can go forward. So when you do focus on revenue, you know what the scalability of that profit is based on the growth in revenue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
couldn't have said it better myself.
And for your business, what's the direction? When we talk about revenue, we talk about growth. What is your direction? Where are you headed to in the next little bit?
Yeah, so one of those revenue ceilings I talked about, we've hit twice now, and we're trying to figure. We run a system called EOS. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Entrepreneur Operating System. We just started less than a year ago, and that's really helped us know our numbers, be accountable for things. If you're running a business, check out EOS. I have no affiliation with it other than we use it. Check it out. It's really transformed our business. It's helped us figure out right people, right seat. Do we even need this seat, for instance? It's been a really good thing, but that's what's going to help us get through this next revenue ceiling of, all right, we've gone through it twice. Now we've got to increase sales, up our prices, increase churn. So yeah, we're growing. It's just, we keep bouncing off this latest revenue ceiling. And that's the weird thing about business is as you get bigger, you've got to reinvest more, right? So that's why a lot of businesses, smaller, newer businesses are typically more profitable than larger businesses because you've got to reinvest so much back in it to get to outdo your churn, if you will, to bring more sales in, right?
Yeah.
And so it's that's kind of where we are right now in growing the business.
Is in the reinvestment strategy.
Yeah. Yep.
And growth, what does growth look like for you?
We look at growth as profit. So, and then you reverse engineer that from new clients and average client spend is really what we look at.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what are you seeing right now from the dentists? Are they jumping into the idea that marketing is extremely important? Or are you seeing that they're restricting, kind of given some market shifts? What are you seeing the dentists are doing right now?
We're seeing a little bit of it all. I think it's, it seems like it's, I don't know. It's, I think I make up my mind one way and then all of a sudden I get another client and they're like completely the opposite. So it's really across the board right now. I think everybody's in the dentistry are feeling the pressures of corporate dentistry and just so much competition. We're also seeing a change in the guard, if you will, of dentistry. We're at that era where a lot of dentists that started 20, 30 years ago are now retiring. And so there's this influx of younger dentists coming in, buying those existing practices, and they're a little bit more in tune with the digital revolution of advertising.
Yep.
And they're more willing to spend some money because they see that it's a long-term investment for them. And it is an investment. It's not like a light bill or something where it's an expense. I mean, if you're doing marketing the right way, it should be bringing $3, $4, $5 back for every dollar you spend, right? And so sometimes we have to get them out of that frame of mind of it's an expense. But we're seeing a little bit across the board, but it is getting a little younger now, and that's picking up. But we still have a lot of competition. There's a lot of people that like to sell to dental practices. They've got a laptop and they know how to run Google ads and they think they're a dental expert. So we have to run through some of that. But yeah, business has been good. It's been busy, and it's trending upward. So that's positive.
Now, one thing you said that was interesting in that discussion, and it's great to see that things are trending up, by the way. You talked about marketing not as an expense. Would you put marketing as a cost of goods sold?
Well, it's a cost of doing business, that's for sure. No. Usually marketing is a regular expense accounting wise. It's not a COGS, cost of goods sold. Usually cost of goods sold is anything it requires materially to make your product or fulfill your product. And advertising kind of falls into just regular operating expenses.
Okay. So you're not scaling because when you talk about scaling your revenue, scaling your profit, scaling your spend based on your revenue, based on your profit. So if it's on the fixed side, on the expense side, you're just tuning on a percentage basis, not necessarily throwing cost of goods sold or cost of sales. You're putting it in the expense column, but you're just saying percentage wise, percentage of revenue. We know that as the revenue goes up, our cost of marketing is going to go up to retain the same amount of revenue growth.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Awesome. And so for people to get a hold of you, the best way for them to get a hold of you is going to kickstartdental.com.
Yep.
And again, award winning, which is great to see. I think it was 5 years running that you've been award winning.
It's 5. I have to look. I think it's either 4 or 5. I don't remember.
Well, I count 5 on your screen, and I'm blind as a bat. So it looks like from 2020 to 2024. So
yeah, we were honored by that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, dude. That's amazing. And it's awesome to hear, I think you've got a very down to earth approach to looking how marketing needs to be done. And I think that's really important for people to see. It's not all whiz bang. It's something that there's strategy involved with it. And I love that that's been part of your presentation. So thank you so much for that.
Sure. I disappeared and I don't know why.
We'll see what happens in the
I have no idea
what breaks it. Turn the light off. Turn the light off.
Yeah, I don't know what just happened.
Well, guys, this is the money. This is the mindset. This is the mentoring podcast. We will see you on the next dark one.